Hey everyone, this is your boy Matt here. It is currently the 14th of December 2025 and this video is a video intended as a PSA for the public. I'm going to talk about some memes I've seen regarding psychology and other things. I want to describe what it is actually like working as a therapist, what the role of the therapist is, and how therapists should be thinking. So this is also a video which is intended as training for other therapists. I've formally and at the time of recording was registered as a junior psychologist in Australia. I'm giving that up very soon. People who follow me understand that I'm currently an enemy of the state and my interest at the moment is finding a way to get to a different country. I'm not very interested in completing my psychology internship. I'm trying to get the fuck away from here. Back to the point. So there's this meme and it goes, your psychologist needs to be more intelligent than you are, okay? And that's just not true. When you go to therapy, your therapist should do one of two things. They're either there to use a default modality, which has a defined treatment protocol, or they're doing something else. I think the term is strategic psychology, where what you do is that you do an assessment of the individual and then they then design sort of like a lesson plan to build capabilities in that individual using different parts of different modalities. Okay, so it's not at all the case that your psychologist needs to be more intelligent than you, because it's not really them doing the work and it's not you doing the work either. What's meant to happen is that there's meant to be an intervention taking place. If their psychologist is practicing as a psychologist and not just a counselor, what they'll be doing is that they'll be using techniques and a sort of lesson plan which another psychologist proved worked to fix a problem, whether that be panic attacks or issues with anxiety or depression or anything similar. And they'll be using these techniques to try and get an outcome. Sometimes it gets a bit more complex than that. I, for example, use something called acceptance and commitment therapy, which is a set of techniques which also includes what's called positive psychology, which is ways to have a more rich and fulfilling life, because there are other things to do apart from suffer and to manage your suffering. You can enjoy things. So there's that part of it. Now, I attribute this sort of lesson which I'm giving here to a gentleman called Max, who was a cognitive behavior therapist that I met early on when I was starting my internship. And he told me that, and as a person who was in the other seat, it's very important, and I'm addressing therapists rather than the public, to sort of take that attitude, because I think what I found, at least in my instance, and there are other stances which can be taken, but the reason why I like this attitude is because it's humbling, and it means that myself as the therapist doesn't feel overly excited when there's progress with the client or dismayed when progress is slow. We're facilitating an intervention someone else came up with. We bloody well should try hard to do a good job of facilitating that intervention, but ultimately we are facilitators of an intervention. We're not miracle workers, although sometimes we do get to do that, and that's lovely when it happens. The other thing I'd like to point out is something called the two mountains metaphor, right? And this is more addressed to people who are coming to a therapist. Now, the idea of the two mountains metaphor is that we all have our unique mountains. We're all climbing a mountain which is different from someone else's. There are footholds in different places, there are grips in different places, and it's all a lot. all right? And some mountains are significantly more difficult to climb than others, and we're all at different heights up and down our mountains. Now, what happens is that your therapist is not a guru. They shouldn't be a guru. And the place that they should be coming from is that they should be looking at you and going, this person's on this mountain here. I'm seeing some things where they're getting stuck and seeing some things where they can change their behaviors and it might work out for them. And inversely, although this is not what the time for therapy is, but if the roles are reversed, or we're just having a casual conversation and we want to help each other out and we know ourselves from, in a different context to the therapist-client relationship, like you two would be point out things in my mountain where you're seeing things. You're seeing places where I can get a hand grip, and places where if I'm not careful I might find myself covered under a thick coat of snow or something similar. And that's the other thing I wanted to express. And yeah, like this is likely my last video on the subject of psychology and healthcare and these things. I hope everyone has a lovely day. Just like I'm trying to pack up and get the fuck out of Australia, and psychology is something I've been very, very proud to have participated in, and I've contributed a significant amount to the field in Australia, and it's been a pleasure. Quite passionate about it. Maybe it's something I'll return to in the future. And that's it, everyone. Have a lovely day.